The world irrevocably changed when America unleashed the terrifying power of the atom upon Japan. Hiroshima and Nagasaki became harrowing proof of nuclear weapons' devastating capacity. It was instantly clear, possessing such weapons granted unparalleled military might, commanding fear and respect from any adversary. Both terrifying and awe-inspiring, the nuclear age had dawned. This is the story of some of the most staggering nuclear weapon tests ever conducted. Events that shook the world and demonstrated humanity's newfound, dreadful power. Our journey begins with Trinity, the very first nuclear detonation, the culmination of the secretive Manhattan Project during World War II. Deep in the New Mexico desert, on July 16, 1945, the device nicknamed the Gadget was triggered. Its 20-kiloton yield erupted in a blinding flash followed by an earth-shattering roar, so intense that witnesses miles away thought they were experiencing a violent earthquake. A colossal mushroom cloud billowed 12 kilometers into the sky. The shockwave rippled outwards, measurable 160 kilometers away, even shattering windows in homes nearly 300 kilometers distant. The test was a stark success. Washington now possessed the ultimate weapon, and less than a month later, its destructive force would be tragically proven over Japan. With the war over, the isolated Bikini Atoll in the Pacific became the next stage for nuclear demonstrations. In 1946, Operation Crossroads unfolded with two tests, Able and Baker. On July 1st, the Able bomb was detonated in the air. Ships anchored within 914 meters suffered catastrophic damage. On board these target vessels, a grim menagerie of test animals, pigs, goats, rats faced the blast. Only around 30% survived the immediate effects. Yet, Able's destructive show was eclipsed by the underwater detonation of Baker on July 25th. Exploding beneath the waves, Baker violently threw over 1 million cubic meters of highly radioactive water and seabed sand into the air. It created a monumental water column 1.8 kilometers high and over 600 meters wide, spawning tsunami-like waves over 30 meters tall that engulfed nearby target ships. The radioactive cloud lingered ominously for days. Baker's legacy was grim. It became known as the world's first nuclear disaster due to the lasting contamination that affected local inhabitants upon their return. After an 8-year pause, the U.S. returned to Bikini Atoll in 1954, ready to test a new, far more powerful weapon, the thermonuclear hydrogen bomb. Codenamed Castle Bravo, its detonation on March 1st was monumental. In a single second, it generated a fireball nearly 7.2 kilometers across, a searing spectacle visible even from over 400 kilometers away. The mushroom cloud surged skyward with terrifying speed, reaching 14 kilometers high within a minute and expanding to an unbelievable 40 kilometers high and 100 kilometers wide in under 10 minutes, growing at over 100 meters per second. The consequence was horrifying. Radioactive fallout contaminated over 18,000 square kilometers of the Pacific Ocean. Castle Bravo yielded a power roughly 1,000 times greater than the bombs dropped on Japan, and it remains the most powerful nuclear device ever tested by the United States. However, Castle Bravo wasn't America's first foray into thermonuclear power. That milestone belongs to Ivy Mike, tested 2 years earlier. This device was a true behemoth, 6 meters tall, 2 meters wide, encased in 300 millimeters thick steel, and weighing a staggering 74 tons, including 18 tons of cryogenic equipment to keep its deuterium fuel liquid. It was far too large and complex to be delivered by aircraft. Instead, it was assembled on Elaglab Island in the Enuitic Atoll. On November 1, 1952, at 7:15 a.m. local time, Ivy Mike was detonated. The resulting fireball had a radius of up to 3.3 kilometers. Its mushroom cloud soared 17 kilometers high, eventually spreading to a peak diameter of 161 kilometers. The blast's sheer force completely obliterated Elaglab Island, leaving nothing but a crater 1.9 kilometers wide and 50 meters deep where the island once stood. Not to be outdone in the terrifying nuclear arms race, the Soviet Union prepared its own display of ultimate power. On October 30th, 1961, they tested the Tsar Bomba, or King of Bombs, the largest nuclear weapon ever detonated by humankind. Dropped from a specially modified Tu-95V bomber, painted reflective white, flying at 10,500 meters. The bomb exploded at an altitude of 4,000 meters. Even through cloud cover, the resulting fireball was reportedly visible from 1,000 kilometers away. Accompanied by an intense flash, a dust column surged nearly 10 kilometers high within seconds. The immense fireball swelled, eventually reaching a diameter of almost 20 kilometers. The iconic mushroom cloud climbed to an astonishing 64 kilometers well into the stratosphere. With a cap spanning 90 kilometers, miles from ground zero, the ground was scorched, snow and ice instantly vaporized, and sturdy structures were leveled. The Tsar Bomba unleashed energy equivalent to 50 million tons of TNT, approximately 3,800 times the power of the Hiroshima bomb. Beyond testing weapon yields, the U.S. military sought to understand the effects of nuclear war on troops. Between 1951 and 1957, Operation Desert Rock saw American soldiers participate in exercises frighteningly close to NUCLEAR tests. Positioned in trenches just kilometers away, they witnessed the blinding flash, felt the terrifying roar and shockwave, and experienced the heat and dust of atomic detonations firsthand. The objective was stark: to study soldiers' psychological and physical responses. On a simulated nuclear battlefield, a chilling prospect. Finally, we glimpsed the unique dynamics of an underwater nuclear explosion with the Wahoo test, conducted on May 16, 1958, near Bikini Atoll. A Mark 7 nuclear device, with a 9-kiloton yield smaller than Little Boy but still potent, was detonated 150 meters deep in water nearly a kilometer deep. Within a second, a vast dome of water erupted, shooting skyward to reach 160 meters in just 7 seconds. Secondary jets of water then burst through this initial dome, spraying outwards. This violent spectacle of displaced water climbed to nearly 800 meters, before dramatically collapsing back into the ocean after about 20 seconds. These tests, from the dawn of the atomic age with Trinity to the colossal Tsar Bomba and the specialized underwater Wahoo shot, represent moments when humanity wielded power on an unprecedented scale. They are stark, dramatic reminders of the terrifying capabilities developed during the Cold War, forces that forever changed warfare and international relations.